So Douglas Finance Committee at 7:03, so I heard from Heather, she's out of town. Sandy's sick. I think we have everybody else, but just for the record, let's identify ourselves. So Rob, why don't you start?
Rob Leonardi.
Howard D'Amico.
Brian Hogan.
Dick Vandenberg.
Lynn Mazzulli.
Carol Gogolinski.
And do we have Mike on?
It's online now.
Yep, you have Mike.
Oh, Michael, you're on Zoom.
Yeah?
Hey, yeah, I'm on Zoom tonight. I'm just driving out of my parking lot at work, so,
Okay, well, welcome, Mike.
all right.
So
Should you enough for a quorum tonight, Dick?
we do have enough for a quorum, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to sign out.
You want to sign off then?
Yeah, I'm going to sign off. I'd rather not try and drive and Zoom at the same time, so.
No, we have the police chief here.
Oh, anyway, we appreciate that.
All right, Michael, we'll
Yeah.
carry on without you then, okay?
All right, thanks. I'll catch up later with you.
All right.
Bye.
All right, Chief, you want to come to the chair? So everybody, did you get a chance to look at the chief's summary of some budget stuff?
Yeah, we did leave a packet for you there.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, does anybody need anything? I have a couple extras. Good?
Nope, good, good.
So Nick, as you're working on your budget for the next year, what are the salient points that are on your mind, I guess?
So I guess one of the things that you'll like to hear most is that going into '26, will be in our last year of the 3-year cycle of turning over the cruisers. So what we do is we do 2 every year for a 3-year cycle. So we call them the line cars. We have 5 cars that are run throughout the fleet, and then you have the car that I drive that's part of that. So there's 6 in there. So in FY '24, we replaced 2. That's when we started. This year, we already replaced 2. And after July 1st, it's in this budget to replace 2 more. So that'll be the end of the replacing the cruisers until, I believe, FY '29, because it's a 5-year cycle. We have each car for 5 years. So by the time we hit '29, we'll be ready to turn over those first 2 cars. And by the time we get to that point, we have a 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty. 5 years being run round the clock pretty much is time. It's not like, a personal car that you buy that sits for 16 hours a day. These cars are being driven at least 16 hours a day, some of them 24, so they get tired pretty quick. So we take good care of them, but we're coming up on the end of that, so.
What is the average mileage that they put on in a year on one of the cruisers?
Probably a little over 20, 25. And it depends, like I said, we watch the mileage on them, and once they get to a certain point, we'll move personnel around and switch them out of the car so we can try and let the one with the older, more miles on it maybe sit for 16 hours, only be driven by, 1 shift instead of 2. But we try and keep it, low enough so we can get through that 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty deal. So that will be actually. So for the proposed budget in FY '26, if you get to the last page of this, I put some numbers on there just for some comparison so you can see, but this year we're at 140 for the cruisers. We were able to cut that down 10,000, reduce that to 130 for FY '26, just because the car that I drive is getting replaced. The one that I have now will go to the detective sergeant, but in the car that I drive, it's more of an admin car. Doesn't have the cage, doesn't have all the bells and whistles that go into one of the line cars. So we were able to cut that by about $10,000, and we got a better deal on one of the other cars. So that's down $10,000. Our staffing, you may remember at the beginning of this fiscal year, we added a position. So we went from 19 full-time officers to 20 in the roster that we're in now. We added that 1 full-time officer to put another officer up at the school during the school year, and then we'll get that officer back during the summer months. So once school's out, he'll go back on the phone. Right now, he works Monday through Friday. He's up at the schools, one of the campuses. He has the primary school, the elementary school, and the middle school. And then we have an officer that's full-time up at the high school. So once school's out, both officers will come back to the department and back on patrol. But One of them will be working a 4 and 2, and one of them stays on as admin. We really haven't felt the impact on that yet on our schedule, simply because I've had a couple retirements. So I've had 2 people in the academy that just got out. We've had another one that just retired, so I have somebody in the academy now. So by the time we get him back, it'll be the beginning of this fiscal year, we'll have the full complement of the 20 full-time officers, so,
Are you happy with that number?
yeah, and I haven't had time to evaluate exactly what that did for us, simply because, like I said, we've had the retirements, had people in the academy getting out, we're getting everybody back now, so we'll really feel that at the beginning of next fiscal year, we'll see what it does for us, and that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to look at it, because, we were looking at asking for, another additional person, but we want to see what this does for us to make sure that, we need that. So we'll evaluate that once we get the full complement back, everybody out of the academy, everybody fully trained, and then we'll know exactly what that does for us on the schedule.
Did the officer at school start this school year?
He did, so he was already.
September or
yeah,
August?
He was already a full-time officer with us, perfect fit. The school's very happy with him. We're very happy that he's up there. The whole relationship that we have with the school and having the second officer up there has been great, and that's not a problem at all. Everything's working well with that. The only thing is we got to get the other officer we hired to replace him trained and everybody up and running. So, like I said, next year we'll have a better idea of exactly what that's going to do for us, but it's going to help us out a lot. So if you look at, that's basically our staff. So we have 20 full-time personnel. If you take our, excuse me, part-time personnel, we have 7 part-time officers, and 7 part-time dispatchers and 6 part-time officers. Now, the part-time officers don't really work shifts like they used to, or were able to because of post. A lot of what they do is they'll do details, road jobs. If we have something for a town event, Oktoberfest, the Christmas tree lighting or something like that, that's when we call them in, and then they help out. The part-time dispatchers are the per diem. They'll fill in for our full-time dispatchers when they have time off, vacation.
How are we doing on dispatchers? Do we have them?
We're actually doing pretty good right now.
A year or 2 ago, you were kind of nervous about being able to
Yeah.
fill those positions, right?
So the person I have in the academy right now was a full-time dispatcher, so that position is actually open. We're filling that with our part-time dispatchers for the time being. We have a couple of them that are actually in the process of training right now. So we're able to fill his shifts with the part-time dispatchers, and then we're going to, at the end of this month, we're going to look at filling the full-time position. But we have some pretty good CJ majors, college kids that are training right now that want to be police officers in the future, so we're getting them started. So right now, we have the most part-time dispatchers that we've had in a couple of years, and things are working out well.
That's a good story these days.
It is,
It's
because
harder to
they are hard to come by.
Yeah, good.
I noticed so the difference in your total is 1.5%.
Yeah,
Bottom of the
and
second
that's
page, right?
basically, it's about 1.5 overall. The expense side, you'll see, is level funded, and if you take the 10,000 out, the only increase we had were in salaries, which is everything in the salary line items are contractual agreements.
Sure.
So there's no wiggle room to go in there. I mean, it's pretty much a set cost. We level funded the expenses, which should be fine, because the expenses that I have this year, with sending people to the academy, sending 3 people to the academy, sending them to the class, and buying their equipment, upfitting them with the gear. I don't anticipate having that expense next year, so any increases in inflation or regular costs or fuel or whatever, we should be able to maintain it with this level funded expense account. And like I said, we reduced the cruisers $10,000, so that puts us, if you look at our total, about $38,000 more than this year. so at about 1.5%, right around ballpark.
All right, any questions for the chief, anybody?
Is there anything that you think could throw a monkey wrench into this?
Not really. I mean, we're, right now, like I said, we're good with personnel. We're only going to be better than we are right now this year because we're going to have that extra body. Cruisers-wise, we're good, and, that's, we replaced, a couple years ago, we replaced our firearms, and we're in the process of replacing, we replaced the tasers. We're on a 3-year payment plan with that. That money is in this budget. I don't anticipate any outside costs other than that. And, we talk about it all the time. I'm fortunate, in one sense, to be in this building and not have my own standalone building, because a lot of the expenses that comes with heat and utilities, electric, whatever, doesn't really fall on me. It falls on Adam, so he's glad he's here to support us.
Team player.
I was going to ask you how you doing with your space in general.
We could always use more space, and we're looking at, a couple options, maybe a Connex box or something out in the impound lot, but we're getting by.
Hanging in there?
Yeah, we're going to get by.
Couple, just quick ones, chief.
Sure.
Under the cruisers, it says gas model. Were we buying hybrids at one point?
We have one hybrid, and we haven't had a problem with it, but to be honest with you, they're harder to get right now than the gas models. So when we go out look at them and we get our prices, they already have the cars. And if they have the car now, before something happens, you grab it, you tell them to hold on to it, and they know that we're going to town meeting, they know that we'll have an answer in May, so they hold on to the cars. So when we priced out these cars, he had a gas model of what we wanted, so we just went with it.
Are the hybrids more expensive?
We got hybrid, yeah, it's a little more expensive. We have one right now. I mean, they like it, it runs well.
Okay.
Haven't had a problem with it at all.
Okay.
So it's honestly, it's a matter of what they have when we go to price them out.
Sure. And where are we with the police union contract? Wait, how many years till?
We are in, right now, we're in year 1 of their most recent contract, so they have 2 years
2
left.
years.
We will be looking at the dispatchers for 27, next year. So the dispatchers are in there. 26 will be the dispatchers last year.
Okay.
So we'll be looking to renew theirs in 27, 28, 29, but the police this is the first year of their 3-year contract, so they have 2 years left on theirs.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
Anybody else questions for the chief? All right, well, Nick, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, you're welcome. If anything ever comes up, just shoot me an email, I'll stop in anytime.
Thank you, chief.
All right.
Appreciate it.
And thanks for the numbers, too, and
You're welcome.
Yeah,
the handout.
great numbers.
Have a great night.
Yeah, that was a nice 1.5%. Yeah.
Yep. No, we like it. More. Fire chief?
Nope, we got,
No fire chief tonight?
nope, not tonight, I don't
Okay.
think.
I thought I saw
Highway
that on
and
the
public
original
building maintenance.
Correct.
agenda.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening, Al.
Please identify yourself for the record.
Sure. Adam Furno, Highway Superintendent and Maintenance Manager for the town of Douglas.
So let's do highway first. Adam, you
Sure.
got some highlights for us?
Sure, just I made a little update thing, so talking about the budget, I know that's kind of why we're here. The only thing with this year for budget concerns I have are our patching costs are up. It's been that way, it's been trending that way for the last few years. The past 3 years, we've surpassed the budget and averaged about $20,000 in patching every year. Currently, we're already at $13,457. In vehicle maintenance, we have 2 trucks that are 2001 Internationals and one that's a 2008 International. They take up most of our maintenance budget at the moment. The good part is the 2001 trucks, the new trucks have been on order since July, so it's a year and a half to get them. So by this December, we should be able to replace those 2 trucks. Thank you to Capital and everyone who supported it. The truck life under these conditions that we put them through with salt, sand, everything are 15 years. We always push it to 20. We try as hard as we can. We wash them after every storm and to last as long as possible. So that was the only two things I had for my budgets. Everything else is just more of an update. Roadway paving, we are at Chapter 90. Right now, currently, our balance is $1,095,376.58. We have $300,000 reserved for Depot Street construction here to assist with the water sewer department. They're going to replace the water main. We're going to do some sidewalks. We have a culvert we need to fix here, and then paving it. Johnson Court has been an issue for many years. We have to do a lot of drainage. Unfortunately, there's a lot of ledge there, so we got a lot of, hammering that's going to have to take place with that, but they're doing the design right now. Maple Street, 42 Maple has an old little pond that has a little wooden dam. It's on the shorter side towards probably halfway between Franklin and Martin Road.
Okay, got it.
Nice little pond, but there's a little wooden dam there. We need to replace the culvert that crosses the street. Well, while we're there, we've run across this, and we're running across it a lot more. The more we build houses in town, the more drainage issues we have. Because where the water used to get off in the old country drainage, it can't get off anymore because now there's a house there. And nobody wants the water, that's how it works. So now we have to start trying to address this as we're doing it. So we're going to add some catch basins and then also replace this drain at the same time. And not this year, but next year, MassDOT has we received additional paving on South Street. We did a section of it. We did .80 miles of South Street, drainage and paving, while MassDOT came through and said, hey, we're going to pave the rest of it. So they're going to, not this year, but next year.
Through the state line then?
Yeah, they're going to go all the way from Main Street to the Rhode Island line.
How about that?
Yeah, so they've come through for us, and we definitely appreciate that. It's 2.45 miles of road they're going to pave. I'm trying to get them to do some drainage. I want to see if I can push it. We're going to see, but because there's some spots, again, that's the same thing. We have some flooding issues, things I'd like to see addressed.
Yeah.
And we'll take whatever we can get, but if I can push it a little bit, I will. And again, that's not going to, the construction for that won't start till probably the spring, summer of 2026.
So Adam, is there a local MassDOT guy around? How does that work?
So, no, they reached out to us, actually. So there's a lot of things that we do, like I've been getting speed grants for speed signs for the police chief and things, you see them pop up. And it kind of puts us on the radar a little bit more, like we have issues here. We had a couple of bad crashes in the S-turn down the bottom of the hill between Woodland and Arch. So that kind of puts us on the radar. And like Webster Street did a few years back, where they deem it a hazard road, so they start paying attention to it more. And all these kind of tie into new paving, new markings, stuff like that, new signs. So that works out.
Interesting.
The 2024 revised pavement study is on the town's website for review. It did show that we made a little progress last year. We appreciate all the capital committee, town administrator, and town residents that they do for us. The $360,000 from town meeting every year has certainly helped the situation. We are far from where we want to be, but it's definitely a good start. Tree removal. We still see damage every year from the gypsy moss, and we're continuing to take trees down. For the last, I can't even tell you how many years, we've had $60,000 every year, and we've spent it all just trying to remove trees. Right now, I have 100 trees on my tree list, and we're picking away at them as we go. We've already removed between us and National Grid, 160 dead trees, and we're still continuing. And right now, our bid is $1,700 a day for our tree crew. That's the low bid that we had this year. Snow and ice, we're up to 15 events. So tonight could be 16 the way it looks. We've spent about $189,156. We have a balance remaining of $66,656. Again, just to go over numbers, we have 8 full-time staff at the highway department and 1 part-time worker. We have 20 subcontractors. Salt bids this year for us for the 13-town or 15-town consortium that we're part of. We have a 70-30 split between 2 different vendors, so we always make sure we have salt. And we went down $4.61 from the 70% bidder and down $3.07 from for the second bidder, the 30%, which the state went up $5 a ton, and we're still lower than them, so we're doing great again.
Is that 20 subcontractors enough?
Yes, yeah, actually, right now, due to a medical issue, we actually are going to have 19. One of our subcontractors notified us that they have a medical condition they have to deal with, and we have enough, help to spread it out a little bit and get everyone out. So, yeah.
Do you have trouble getting subcontractors?
We don't, and thankfully, that's for the, I'll thank the town administrator and the selectmen up and down for that, because they've kept the rates right there with MassDOT rates, they've matched them, and we have a lower insurance requirement at the, you know.
Yeah, I knew that.
So, it is, and,
Do it.
yep, and we've kept all our guys every year. I think we only have, like, we had a couple retire, not even go anywhere, just retire,
Yep.
and that's what stops us, but no, we've had all our guys, and we're very fortunate.
That's good.
Yep.
So Adam, as you're working on the budget
Sure.
for next year with the increases that you'll get 2% or more or
Yep.
less, will that, you can work with that, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just looking at the 2 trucks getting replaced is going to be already a positive, because those are where I'm spending a lot of money right now, and I'm trying to keep them running for the next 2 months. And it's not that the trucks are bad. The motors are good, it's just body's rotting off of them, brakes need to be changed, everything. When you get into a brake job and everything's rusty, you got to replace a lot more parts than you really would if it wasn't. So
Right.
replacing those 2 trucks is going to be a relief for us. And again, the 2008 will still be here, and it's, you know, just getting in the worst shape, but trucks are 2 years out right now. You know, to order anything, if you want to start, you can start now and get it in 2 years. So it's just where we're at. It's the times we're in. But that'll definitely be a positive for that. So, yeah, I believe that's definitely going to help, and the more stuff we've replaced a lot of equipment. Capital's been very good to us, the selectmen, town administrator, everybody, and we've gotten a lot of new equipment that's helped out. So, yeah, I think we're in a really good spot.
And we just need a new building to store
Yeah,
them in.
that would be nice, yes,
I was just going to
exactly.
say, but if we do get that new building, how much do you think that would help extend the life of the equipment?
Oh, a lot, because like our backhoe sits outside, we have a 2014 backhoe, and you can look at it, and it doesn't look like a 2014 backhoe. It's faded, everything's peeling off of it, things are rusting, and if it was inside, you probably gain, I would say, at least another 5 or 7 years from what you have. And the same, we have a 95 grader, and, I mean, we don't use it a lot, but, I mean, that's been sitting outside its whole life. So it's just, you could say, definitely see where you lose money and things like that. We have a lot of equipment all over town. The water department stores some of our stuff. You know, we have some, you know, with the old fire station. So we've tried to keep it indoors if we can, but it's just all over town right now.
Right.
Nothing in your own garage.
No, nothing in my own garage. There's no room in my own garage. My wife can't even park in it. Don't worry, she'll tell you.
All right, any questions for Adam on highway, anybody? All right, let's go to building maintenance then, okay?
So we had a big year in building maintenance. We did a lot of projects, and we're still finalizing a few of them. So we did the main roof here and the elevator roof. The total cost between those two was $408,390. The post office and adult social center parking lot was repaved for $100,926. The post office large HVAC unit that they had on the side that was 30 years old was replaced for $52,175. The municipal generator is still getting finalized. We have some invoices and some other paperwork. It's been great. I think it's run a couple of times that it had to, and it worked great. So that's just wrapping that up. Right now, we're at the point we spent $284,309, but we know that's not the final number.
Do we get any state aid to have a generator for the town hall or not?
No, we have nothing.
Okay.
The town's funded all of it. Municipal first floor HVAC units, they replaced all these old 28-year-old units at a cost of $93,890. Just my last year, we spent over $10,000, or about $10,000, keeping them running. The key system at the town hall, we replaced all the locks. There's a lot of locks from all over the place. We finally have one key system that, Matt and Lisa have control of, and now we have things under
Master
wraps.
key actually opens doors.
It does, exactly.
So psyched.
How can that be,
Yeah,
man?
exactly. It shouldn't be, it's not right. The school had stuff upstairs that was different than ours. The basement was different. The gym was different. It was just, yeah. I have a big key ring still because I'm not sure what key does what. Upcoming projects, through the hard work of the town administrator and town planner, the municipal center lighting project is scheduled to be replaced in the next month or so under our Green Communities Grant Program, and Depot Street water line. So, I mean, this year will be a little slower, which is actually a good thing, because we did so much last year that it'd be nice to, catch up, and this Depot Street thing will be a big project.
And that'll help us use our...
Correct, and that's, yeah, exactly, and that brings the water line in from the street, a bigger water line, and helps with the fire suppression system, which in turn will eventually get us to move upstairs, expand the town hall like we've been discussing. Heating oil, This year, we're paying $2.86.9 per gallon, which is 52 cents less a gallon than last year, which is good. The maintenance manager's position, the town administrator and selectmen have been discussing hiring a maintenance manager. With the highway department workload that I'm under, it's very difficult to keep on top of things for building maintenance. Matt Wojcik and Mike Fitzpatrick have been helping pick up the slack and overseeing things for me, which I definitely appreciate. Budget, the maintenance budget's so far okay. We have one large unexpected expense for repair in the gym roof. We had a leak. Unfortunately, it wasn't under the warranty for $17,360. And the municipal oil spill in the basement, we're still continuing on. The environmental company is sampling again next week, and for the next phase of the DEP requirements, hopefully for continued good news, and hopefully we can close this out by this time next year, so.
How long ago was that oil spill now?
It's been going on, I can't even tell you. I don't even remember how many years. Yeah, I'm gonna say 4 almost. I really want to think, yeah. Oh, yeah. And you're under, DEP tells you what to do. If the hits come back, if nothing comes back, it's great. We continue to the next sampling phase. But if something comes back, we back up. And so we're kind of at their mercy at this point to keep going and finish. It's looking positive, but I never want to, I'll knock on wood now, don't want to talk about it too much, but it's looking positive and we'll go with that.
Which gym roof had the leak?
Our gym here, yeah. Yeah, and it's not that old, but it looks like something was either cut or a tree branch or something made a mark, and then all of a sudden water got in under the insulation, and
That's it.
yeah, so we called the warranty company out, they came and checked it out, and they've determined that it was wet under there, they had to peel everything up in a big section, and it wasn't under warranty, of course, and so we foot the bill for that.
So-
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Robert.
The maintenance manager position,
Yeah.
would that be a brand-new created position, or is that
So-
something we've had before? And it-
Yeah, so I took that position on in 2012 when it was, they were cutting positions back then. I was just the highway foreman at that time, or actually, I think I was even a highway worker. That position was getting eliminated, the gentleman was retiring, so they basically said, can you take this on? So I took it on, and I've had it for that long. Now I went to foreman and then now superintendent. So there's a lot to it. There's a lot of things that you really need to be on, and I have vendors that you can trust and you can, that you don't get to see all the time, but it's hard. You really want to be on top of everybody. You want someone there to really oversee it, and unfortunately with the highway job right now, I can't do both, so Matt's been great about it, Mike's been on it, Mike's been watching people for me. I see them both pop in and out, checking on everybody, and it's good. It keeps the honest people honest,
So Adam, you mentioned, it says the maintenance budget so far is doing okay.
Yeah.
So as you're working on the budget for 2026, you're feeling good about
Yeah, I
the amount of
think-
money you have to work with?
Correct, and I think with the improvements we've had through capital, with the new lighting, everything that's happening, I think that's helping everything. You're turning it into a positive direction. You can see, if you look at the oil numbers from when we started this to, where we are now, we're saving money on oil every year. It seems like we're using less gallons and still heating the buildings. So everything that we've done, and all the efficiency upgrades that we've done are definitely showing, which is helping.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, any questions for Adam? Anybody about maintenance?
Yeah. So what's the timeline for opening up upstairs?
So you'd have to, the fire suppression system needs to go in first. So I don't know exactly how long. Once the water line comes in, then that starts that conversation. Now, whether that goes through capital, if it's a capital project, then I have to present it to capital. If there's another funding source outside of that, then, to put in a fire suppression system. After that, it's basically just upstairs. I mean, besides moving all the files out of the way, because there's a ton of files up there in storage. The offices, they need to put some drops and some plugs and some miscellaneous stuff like that. But I mean, I think,
But it could be 5 years if it's a capital need.
Correct.
And the capital doesn't
Correct.
rise to the top.
Correct.
Okay.
yep,
All right.
absolutely.
Appreciate it.
What's it slated for up there?
There is no timeline. This was our first domino to fall, was this water line. It actually worked out that they had to do the water line, so we're benefiting from that at the same time. They're running into the building, so I think, like you said, it kind of works out for us, I say.
Thank you.
I mean, our police department needs more space, and so it's kind of a waste to have all that space doing nothing. Because it's kind of interesting that we have to have the the water suppression up there, where we had little children up there, and we didn't have to have it.
I always said that, yeah, we always had the same opinion. It was like 12 teachers and I think it was 60 little kids could run around up there, but
Right.
change it to 6 adult, offices and we have to have a fire suppression system. But that's the fire code and that's how it works.
All right, anybody else for Adam? All right, Adam.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you,
Good
Adam.
night.
That's all you do.
All right, we have no reserve fund transfers, right, Gene? So, Mr. Wojcik? No. No. I don't think I have fire on here, do I?
I imagine that,
I thought they ran together, maybe. You and I both assumed we saw police, we thought we saw fire.
Fire's coming up pretty soon.
We try to break them up because they can both be long sometimes, so that becomes, and then you're left with nothing to do, because between
Right.
those two departments, that's most of the spending. all right?
We're
So
good.
Slow down.
Yeah, I got it.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, I will follow up on a couple of comments from the highway superintendent. Of the facilities supervisor or facilities manager position is anticipated to be funded from the highway budget. So the highway budget currently has a position in it called working foreman or foreman. That position was funded but not filled. Okay, so John was the superintendent, John Furno, Adam was the working foreman, Ernie Marks was the so-called lead man. Those were your three sort of project management positions during the day. John went over to be fire chief, Adam was promoted, Ernie has retired. So we basically, right now, are using a superintendent and a so-called lead man, and the foreman position is in a salary range that is competitive with facility manager positions around the Commonwealth. So we're not technically adding an FTE. We're transferring an FTE to another function. By way of update, I've had conversation with the school superintendent. It is our intention that if we create this position, that the responsibility would be for all town-owned buildings, with the acknowledgement that the school department has dominion over its holdings, but the underlying property interest is still the town of Douglas. When they're done with the building, guess who they're going to give it back to? Us. And there are structural and systems components in a building as large as any school building, or as complex as a school building, where the expertise required to do a good job and get good procurement decisions made is not really an educational job description. It's a building construction base of knowledge. So what the superintendent and I have been discussing is how does it fit into his existing pyramid with the school business manager and a property manager, with Jeff Collette, who is a contractual employee. How is this interaction going to occur? It's almost like a dotted line level of reporting. But I anticipate that Mr. Collette's position would continue, and there would be no change to that day-to-day operation of the plant and maintenance of the landscaping and other things around the buildings. Facilities manager responsibility would be to ascertain heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, electrical systems. Our electrical connections up there at the schools are somewhat suspect that our transformer pads are very old and will need to be replaced. And roofing systems, so the major structural components. And if there is a project to be done, the primary financial return on the position is if the person is properly qualified, they could serve as our owner's project manager, which is required under state law. If you hire that position out, in other words, if you have to hire a firm to be your OPM on a project, it's like 10%.
Oh, I know.
And in my view, totally unnecessary, highway robbery, and most of the time, totally ineffective. Because a hired gun has no loyalty to the town of Douglas and may have a ton of work that they're doing elsewhere with that general contractor that they're supposed to be providing oversight over. Every OPM contract I've been engaged with, and there's been a few, in my career has been an absolute failure and has not met up to its recommendations. You need to have your employee who gets their salary from the town and who answers to town officials and answers to town meeting to be the one who leverages their expertise and makes sure the job gets done right. That is how it's got to work. So that's where I'm at with it. I really, at this point, because it's already in the budget, I'm just navigating a couple issues with the school department, and once I'm done with that, I will be posting, because I think we really need it. At this point in the town's development, a lot of our systems are aging. We pay a lot of money, just a tremendous amount of money between the schools and the town for HVAC. It seems like we're constantly calling them for repairs. And not to speak ill of the vendor, they're getting a call, they're doing the work, and they're sending us a bill, but it adds up to be a lot of money. It's like 200 grand a year.
Can you post it, Matt, before the town meeting? Or does the budget have to be approved first before you can post it?
Well, the money's in the budget now, so I could post it now for
Okay.
this year and then just roll it as a reappointment next year.
To working everything out with the school department first, right?
I want to make sure
Yeah.
we're cooperating at the right level and everybody's okay with it. Obviously, we would be including them in the interview process to make sure we had a good fit and all of that. The second follow-up to Adam's presentation, there is a MassDOT program, and I'm going to forget the name of it, but it is entirely designed to work with cities and towns that have numbered routes that are town roads,
Okay.
right? So
16,
Webster Street, South Street,
Yeah.
and I believe southeast.
It's 7?
Is Southeast Main still 7?
Yeah.
Well, in Rhode Island, it is.
In Rhode Island, it's
Does that
7.
continue?
So I think we're going to go back and forth on this with the state, but those roads are part of a special program, and it wasn't a complete surprise, but the timing was a surprise that they picked South Street, and we had just finished doing part of it. Now, the part that we did, we really had to do, because the neighbors were getting troubled with drainage. We went back and forth with some of the neighbors quite a bit, but I think we've done a lot to alleviate the drainage issues there. Now, having said that, it's been a lot drier. We just haven't gotten the rainfall, but I think the system that we put in place has been tested by a couple of major storms and passed. So that's it for highway. I've met with police and fire, so I've been able to vet their personnel budgets, and I'm comfortable with where they are. They fit within the budget fine. We had anticipated a lot of these personnel changes. I'm very pleased with the fire department. There's a lot of rigor that's gone into the budget this year in terms of preparing strong estimates of overtime and other costs that in the past we kind of, measured the wind with it. I think now we've really kind of got a little bit more scientific about our estimate. So the numbers will go up a little bit, but I think it'll prevent us from going to town meeting in the fall and asking for more money. A couple of, before I turn to other budget line items, before I forget them, go over a couple of national issues. And some of you may be aware that the president had ordered all grant funds and federal loan funds to be frozen. And
Yeah, it was just overruled, wasn't it?
late today, a federal district court has stayed that.
Right.
For a week.
Until Monday. So this doesn't necessarily affect the municipal side as much as it could affect the school side, because there's federal funding that makes its way through different programs on the school side. We are pretty much done. We are closing out our EDA grant. Some of this transportation money that filters down to us might be federally sourced, but I don't really think there's a direct connection there.
Is all the ARPA money done now, Matt?
Done. Out. Yeah. So it's already been obligated. I don't think they're clawing back on any of those projects. So that's an important issue to be aware of, because where the federal government leverages a lot of our operations on the school side, they're pretty sensitive programs that are under a lot of cost pressure already. So we just want to keep our eye on that. Overall, inflation across the economy is pretty much settled. It's a far cry from where it was. Except for one thing, and this is where there's a pretty big difference between municipal government and people's households, and we will be sensitive to what people are up against. Food is just nuts,
Eggs
pun intended. So eggs are
insane.
insane, and today we just got more reports about the massive cullings that are being done because of the avian flu.
Yep.
Yes.
Millions of birds being taken out in, this is a natural process, right? So the replacement birds have to mature to the point where they can lay eggs, so there's this delay. As we all know, because I'm sure we all cook at least a little bit, eggs are in everything. Almost, an awful lot of prepared foods have at least egg whites that are used for a binder and for protein and all the rest of it. So if these core ingredients go up, you just see it all across the supermarket, everything going up. International grain supply continues to be constricted because of the war in Russia and Ukraine, and those are some of our largest producers. So this ongoing heavy inflationary pressure on people's food budgets will continue to be part of the economic dynamic that we're all navigating. But like I say, it doesn't affect the town except that we send people bills. So we have to be sensitive to what people are coping with in their households in order to feel like we're positioning the town properly. Next meeting, not tonight, I'm going to circulate two things. One is the set of pie charts the chairman asked me to prepare. I don't feel like they're ready for prime time.
Okay.
And I don't want to circulate something that's, so I'm fine on the expenditure side because I know it's easy to take the budget spreadsheet and figure out where you're allocating more funds. That's easy. I want to make sure I get the revenue side right because the numbers have to match because I'm pretty much balancing the budget. So the new revenues and new spending should be about the same. And I'm just still working through the recap with the finance director and the principal assessor to make sure I understand which revenue streams are recurring and should be in that pie chart. Because right now it's a little bit short, and I'm still trying to figure out why.
So I'd asked Matt if he could make a pie chart of where we spend our money and where we get our money. And that's,
Well, and I'm focusing
you're
on new
working on it,
funds. So I'm
yeah.
focusing on revenues
Yeah.
above and beyond the revenues collected last year.
Yeah.
And spending above and beyond spending that was done last year.
so whenever you get around to it, Matt, is fine.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I feel comfortable with
Yeah.
the numbers, because my standards are so much lower than Gene's that if I'm not happy, there's no way Gene is going to let me pass that out. The other thing that I'd like to pass out tonight, but we're going to hold back a little bit, but I am going to share some of the contents with you, is the valuation of our OPEB unfunded liability. Because I think there's a part of the story around health insurance is playing itself out on our OPEB. The bottom line is basically this. About 3 years ago, our OPEB unfunded liability, net unfunded liability, was right around 26 million. And as we sit here tonight, it's 13. And that's not something you see.
So Matt, for
Very
viewers
often.
at home, define OPEB a minute.
So it's other post-employment benefits. So basically, by the way, I don't believe in this, so I have a hard time explaining it. But the powers that be have determined that if you have a benefit program that follows retirees into their retirement, that you treat it the same way you treat your pension fund obligation. You estimate the cost of providing that benefit through that person's expected natural life as a cost.
You have to keep the actuaries
And
busy.
keep the actuaries busy. The reason why some town managers that were influential in my early training and my own thinking on it is the town of Douglas is never going to go out of business. So we have a contract with people to provide that benefit, and we have a current operating budget where we fund current benefits. So I'm partial to the idea that you should plan for large census changes. So if your retirement group is getting bigger, and for some reason the cost of their benefit is rapidly increasing, then you should make provisions for that. But the idea that you start from zero as if there is nothing there is ludicrous, because you're already funding it. Now, in our case, this is complicated work, but I'll boil it down to this. The actual cost of our retirement benefit was reduced by almost 40% because we went out as a national account and got a better plan for 40% less than we were paying. We also negotiated rate caps with that vendor. So we've locked in Aetna now for the last 5 or 6 years with very minimal increases. This year's a little bit different. Medicare Advantage is under some price pressure, but we are still paying less today, 6 years later, than we did for the Tufts plan 6 years ago. So there was 389 PMPM when we switched. We went down to 270 something, and even now, I think we're at 360. So we're far ahead of where we would have been, and the actuaries determined, for whatever reason, that the medical cost inflator that they used in our model, they reduced from 8% to 7%. 1% of a lot is a lot, and so it had an impact of, so even though we haven't really been contributing very much to OPEB in the budget the last several years, we've seen this market decline. That's a balance sheet improvement of $13 million. We only levy $14.5–15 million a year. So that's about a whole full year's levy of improvement on the balance sheet side. So it's pretty cool stuff. Things that we're working on right now as a major priority, I'm going to be absolutely adamant about this, probably more than I usually am. I think it's time to revisit our property and casualty insurance relationship. The economic environment that we're in requires us to be nimble. There's a lot of changes that are occurring very quickly. And I've said this before to other folks, you have to keep moving. It's like you're a deer in the woods. If you stand still, you will get shot. You've got to keep moving. You've got to stay ahead of trends. You've got to identify opportunities and walk through that door, because if you miss it, you miss the opportunity to save a lot of money for the town. We are in the year when our biggest property damage claim is rolling off the look back that the underwriter would use. So basically, this current year, the year we're going to rate for next year, it'll be completely gone. So now,
How far do they look back?
anywhere from 5 to 7 years.
Okay.
In this case, 7.
Yeah.
And it was a huge loss. So even though it's discounted quite a bit, it's still sitting there. But once that goes away, nobody will see it. So when they ask for our runs, it won't be there. So I've had 2 really experienced, capable brokers from completely different and opposite ends of the spectrum tell me the same thing, which means it's probably true. Now's the time to look at your $609,000 premium and get it back to, I don't know, 350, 400, which is where other towns the same size as us, that's where they are. So a long time friend of mine is broker of record for the town of Sturbridge. He said, no, it's a bigger town than you, and we're going to renew them at 359. And I told him we're at 609. And he said, what? That's just, I think it was Maya trying to, they pretty much realized that we would move eventually and trying to recoup some of their costs.
When do you start the new
The board has already authorized me to do it. I'm going to come back to them in the next meeting and actually ask a question. Do you want me to get a broker of record to try to place the business, or do you want me to do the RFP and, like we did last time, and have the interviews at the select board? There's pros and cons for both. I'll be honest with you. I would prefer to have a broker of record, investigate, shop it to everyone, and come to the select board, still making the decision at the select board level, not mine, but with a well-summarized report, so they're just reading 3 or 4 pages and making a decision rather than listening to the presentations. I think, unfortunately, that one of Maya's shticks is the fear card, fear of change. And at this point, most of the best things about the relationship with them are gone. So they're not going to cover fire equipment at full replacement value after a certain period of the equipment's useful life. They've walked away from that. We have a $25,000 deductible per incident, which, come on, really? I mean, it's kind of a lot of money. So if I get 2 major incidents, I gotta come up with 50 grand. And by the way, I may increase the reserve fund for the Finance Committee precisely for that reason, that we can't predict what can happen here for losses, and if I have a deductible that high, I can't just take it out of the budget. So that's the major component. I can tell you that we've been corresponding with employees over health insurance. We've put them on notice that we expect, because of the changes we're making, I've baked in a 12% premium, not premium, working rate increase. Maya came out with their bands today. The lowest was 9.5. The highest is 19.5.
Explain what you're saying.
So
Quite understand.
what Maya does is they look at their entire, they have a lot of towns that buy health insurance through them, and it's a Blue Cross Blue Shield plan design, and it's administered by Blue Cross Blue Shield. They look at everybody, and they basically assign them to bands based on the risk that they're presenting, so they don't really necessarily rate everyone individually. They're saying if you fit in this category, your increase will be X.
Yep, yep.
So they have a band at 9.5 and a band all the way up at 19.5, maybe a couple in between. And so if I'm at 12, I'm on the low end of what they're looking at, but my 12 isn't being generated by the same reasons theirs are. Mine is because we're making a change, and we need, once again, to fuel up our equity so that we have enough ahead of ourselves in our claims fund to get through those first few months of startup. Theirs is being driven by medical costs. Medical costs inside the Boston hub, and it's just nuts. And that's showing up because they're burning through reserves really fast this year at Maya, and it's a bad scene. And so that's what they're also reaping the benefits of having used pricing to buy some business and stay competitive in recent years, and that's going to come back to bite them. And the people who went for that, this basically a sucker punch. So those are the major trends I see. I'll just finish up with where I am. So I always like to do fire, highway, and police first, because that's where all the money is. And then I have this really big bucket full of small stuff that we, right? Conservation, planning, senior center, library. In some ways, those budgets are every bit as complex as the bigger ones. There's just not a lot of dollars. So this is actually where the work is cleaning up all the small stuff. I'm still balancing to a surplus of a couple $100,000 for the year that we're planning, fiscal '26. That's before BVT, though. I have no idea what they're going to do to us. So that's my update for the Finance Committee.
Great.
Is there any concerns, when we talk about with the property and casualty, with all the devastation in California, that that they're going to pass that on? The insurance companies aren't as wealthy as they are because they pay claims. Once they have to start paying claims, you have to start paying higher premiums.
Right.
So is there any concern about, just from that fact, the devastation in California impacting the potential premium on property and casualty?
I think that's inevitable. That's my answer. But yet to be seen,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know how many claims have actually been filed and they're being processed. What we will look at is who has the most exposure, because there is a sort of a regional bias with a lot of the major carriers.
Farmers is a big one out in that area.
Farmers is very big out there. And we will also look at just the overall financial rating of the insurance institution to make sure we're only marketing to people we would actually do business with. The name that comes up a lot, because they are working very hard to compete in Massachusetts, is Travelers. Travelers hold some of our paper already, because Maya They say they're a self-insured fund, which is baloney.
Does Maya stand for something?
Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance.
Okay.
Something.
Massachusetts something.
Yeah. In Rhode Island, it's called the Rhode Island Interlocal Trust. I know that because it's easy.
Right.
So is this Maya just health insurance, or Maya is,
They're primarily property and casualty. That's where their expertise is. They got into health insurance because they thought the model they were using was working.
oh, okay,
And so they use a very similar approach to health insurance.
oh, okay,
They put their name on it and somebody else does all the work.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, anybody else for Matt? So Matt, in terms of your spreadsheet and working on the budget, are there some big unknowns? I mean, super unknowns that you can't make a kind of a guess at, or are you
Nope.
feeling pretty good about what the numbers are going to be?
It doesn't really change much from year to year. The last thing I guess I wanted to say, I forgot, cherry sheet. The governor has put in a budget, so H1, the cherry sheet is available. We did okay, like pilot was up, UGA is up, so unrestricted general government assistance, UGA is up. It's basically revenue sharing. The school choice in, school choice out were both significant changes. They don't really affect the town so much.
Okay.
But again, I'm afraid that those lower numbers create liquidity issues on the hilltop that I would wish they didn't have.
So looking ahead to when we meet with the school department,
You're going to hear about it because 400-something thousand's not much for
but like
choice in.
like for the transportation for the special ed, is that projected to go up or down much?
So I guess the jury's still out on that.
Okay. Because that's a big ticket, isn't it?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of discussion at the legislature about this specific issue because it's across the entire Commonwealth. We're all dealing with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Carol, go ahead.
Wasn't exactly sure what you meant about school choice in, is that it's going up. Does the state, like, tell them what they have to pay? Is that what you're saying? That-
The state keeps track of how much tuition
Okay.
we are due
Okay.
and how much tuition we owe.
Okay.
And as you know, this is tricky. They get to keep all the money they get for choice in, and the town pays all the choice out.
I know, I brought this up more than once.
It's a racket,
Are
Carol.
we net negative now? More out than in?
If you want me to answer that, I will have to answer a phone call from Ms. Keegan tomorrow morning, reminding me that we don't net those numbers.
Exactly. You just said that.
Right,
You literally just said that.
right.
Okay, approximately how many out and approximately how many in?
Yeah, because they, they come and they're crying that they have to use their food choice.
A different question, right?
That's all.
I
I
got you.
tried to-
I know what you meant.
I will
Right,
be, I
right.
will be as visually driven as I can be. The number for choice in is bigger than the number for choice out,
But,
right now.
That
This
helps.
does change a lot during the budget process. By the time the governor signs the actual budget. there
Yeah, I
will be
was just trying to get a sense, when we built the new schools, it was strongly choice in over choice out, and it's slowly been going the other way, so. didn't know.
But slowly been coming back.
but,
Well, that's what I mean. We built the new schools, we had a bunch of students come into the district, and since then, each year, it kind of, I would call the net slowly goes the other way. As Uxbridge has built a new high school, other towns have built around us.
There's usually, that's true, there's definitely a trend, and it's
Yeah.
been noted and it's demonstrable in the numbers.
Yes.
The first year or two after you build a brand-new school, you have a little bump in choice in.
Yeah.
And then over time, look, I would always advise the public to take broad brush comments from government officials with a grain of salt. If you build it, there'll be a huge amount of choice. What kind of choice in?
right,
So if, I'm not saying, I got a lot of kids, 3 of my 6 kids are in special ed, so let's be clear that I have no attitude about it. I'm actually- Yeah, 6, I have 7 kids. I have
Let's
6
move
in school. But I'm going through this experience now, so I don't say this to be taken the wrong way. But we have an obligation to educate every child that presents themselves at the Douglas Public Schools where they're at. So if your choice in number includes a lot of kids who need extra help.
Yep.
You might get some extra help in the form of circuit breaker from the state, but there's a long convoluted process, and if you have 3 hours, Courtney will explain it to you, on how you calculate the tuition for students needing extra help coming in. Obviously, it's a financial model, so if you run the numbers hard enough, it can hurt you. I would say right now, I do not feel, looking at the volumes going back and forth between local districts, that anybody is necessarily the magnet where everybody wants to go because the program is so outstanding.
Right.
I think there are specific teachers working with specific kids with specific issues and specific programs that in any given town is better than the one around it. So people who know what their kids need will find that program. That's kind of the way it's supposed to work. When I was a kid growing up, Cumberland's a much, much bigger town than Douglas, right? The superintendent, Dr. McGinnis, at the time, was deeply committed to special ed and built an incredibly great program. And now Rhode Island doesn't have school choice like Massachusetts, so people moved into town to participate in the cost of the program, really jacked up really fast, and the taxpayers kind of scratching their heads like, this was such a humane, compassionate thing that you've done, and we love it, we support it, but no, this was an unanticipated consequence. This was a lot of money.
Was it really unanticipated then?
Well, Dr. McGinnis would never say that it wasn't.
The
All right,
other thing, too,
anybody else for Matt?
Over the years, we have, all of towns are having declining enrollment. And it's not just Douglas, it's every place. But
Yeah.
we need more people that have more children.
Wow.
They're all grown, so I can't help.
Is that a map?
That's always a good question, because I think the last couple of years, we've had some strong cohorts in the kindergarten and first grade level. But as you know, people, as they, bleed out to BVT and other institutions, we lose it quite a bit at the high school level. We lose quite a bit.
Okay, anybody else for Matt? All right, thank you, Mr. Wojcik.
I know we're all surprised the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl again. We're all shocked.
Well, we were just talking about when the season started, the question was, who's going to lose to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl? So.
There you go.
Gene, can you come up to the
The
table a
refs.
sec?
That's the answer.
Thanks, Matt, appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Now I think the Eagles have a real shot.
So you had emailed me the upcoming schedule, but I don't have that email in front of
I
me.
did email.
Can you remember what it is as we look ahead?
The next meeting will have Council on Aging, the library, the fire, and the ambulance.
That's the 11th, right?
That's the 11th.
So
And then
4
it's
things,
4 departments.
okay?
And then the 25th will be just the school department, Douglas Public Schools.
Okay. Anything tentatively for March 11 then?
I wanted to see where the Finance Committee wanted to go. I was going to reach out to BBT and see if I can put them in, because that is a large department, but I don't know how many of the other small departments you want before you. We have not opened the warrant yet, so you may get community development on its own just because of special articles, and we can kind of, put those in at the same time.
So say the 4 again, Gene, for February 11?
Council on Aging,
Yep.
library, fire, and ambulance.
So other years, we've had capital, we've had,
Capital will still come,
Okay.
As the warrants develop.
okay, and the 25th was the school,
The 25th is school only.
only the school, yeah.
So if you have any specific questions that you would like answered, I don't like gut shoes, so,
I always like with both schools, the 5-year placement record.
okay.
So Gene, for March 11 and 25, we're just keeping those open, but we'll probably have some departments there.
Well, I want to see if
Because
you
the
want
warrant, the public meeting for the warrant is
April 8th.
April 8th, yeah.
So that's our end date.
Yeah.
I would like, and I've asked this last year too, and I was very happy to get it, was how much money we've collected on the ambulance. Is it hard for you to get that, Jean?
I will probably give you where we ended up last year.
Sounds good.
And to tell you, I will tell you the receivables quite high. Part of that is, we don't do write-offs unless they, they pass away or there's a hardship, so anybody is,
I'm more interested in what was collected. I
Yep.
want to hear about the receivables because there's some people, I don't care what happens, you're not going to collect any money from. And that's
Yeah.
just how it goes. And what are you going to let, somebody's dying because they can't pay?
No.
You got to take them.
so, no, we can get that, and we can get that
I'm
through,
more interested, just how much did we collect? That's all that counts.
yeah, sure.
But, because it's not as bad as what it looks like, even though we have to write off a lot. I mean, it looks like we're paying so much money for the ambulance, but then you look at how much money's coming in. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't cover the whole thing, but considering the type of service that we have now with the advanced life support and stuff like that, the ambulance is, it's not a, I want people to know it's not as bad as it looks for cost.
Are you, when you count the receivables, you are counting the insurance portion and the copay?
Correct. Whatever gets billed out, gets committed. And there's a straight write-off for that, so that, even though the receivables higher, that's already after the abatement has been given. So I can get you the June 30 numbers through the receivable, and I'll also give you the collections through December, because that's been
I
reconciled.
really don't care, I like to know how much cash came in, that's all I care
Yeah.
about. Give me how much cash came in. I don't care how much you billed out that you may never get, you may get. How much
Okay.
cash came in?
All right, that we can do.
So
Okay.
April 8th was the public hearing.
April 8th is the public.
How are we doing on free cash right now, Gene?
I'm sorry, before we
Yeah.
go away, can you ask Patrice to give us an update on the new vehicle
Sure.
and how, the usage and that sort of thing? As
Oh, I
part of her
think it's
presentation?
Using pretty good.
Great, that's
Yeah.
exactly what we'd like to hear, but I'm curious. And
Free
then,
cash balance, what is that?
And I will answer that at your next meeting.
Okay.
Because I do not, when I said I don't like surprise questions, that would be one of them.
Right? An exact number, please. Tom. Now,
Well, we'll be exact. I will tell you, we did use free cash quite a lot at the fall town meeting. If you remember, we, purchased land, we did some projects, so we did hit it heavy at the fall town meeting.
Okay.
Gene, could we, or Dick, whoever decides, could we have the Board of Health come to one? I'd like to hear about where they are in terms of transfer station, and I know we had the problem a couple years ago with the big ticket increase. I'd love to hear a summary of what's gone on over the last year and a half. or 2
Okay,
years.
I can ask them for the first meeting in March.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying. I wanted to know where you wanted to go.
Right, that's what I thought you were asking. That's-
They do handle quite a few. They have, nurse, Board of Health, transfer station,
Yes,
landfill,
yeah.
and so they're a big chunk. So I'll be happy to
Sure.
see if they're available.
Thank you.
And the other one would be BBT. I have the schedule.
Yeah,
Now, will Mike Fitzpatrick do that one more time, or is because he's retired or retiring?
He is retiring as of 6:30, I believe.
So he would
sure he wants to
still-
come see Howard and I one more time.
I won't be here.
Oh, no.
Discount.
So if we did
I'm not
BBT,
available March 11th.
might it be March
Baseball?
25 BBT then?
No, not baseball. No, yeah,
Basketball.
something else.
So Gene, for BBT, it could be the 11th or the 25th.
I'll shoot for the 11th, maybe after Board of Health.
Okay.
Did you want to be here? I can try for the 25th.
I don't find it to be a material discussion this year, different from, last year, so I don't need to be.
Okay,
And I
So-
don't need to give them a going away gift or anything.
okay.
You mean,
No.
Dr. Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, and I understand it's his last year, and I
last year,
appreciate,
yeah.
I've had a few moments, but no, I don't need to be here.
Okay, I'll see what their availability is.
Yeah.
So 25th will keep open at this point then?
Yeah, like I said, we'll have special articles that we'll have to review. We'll have the special.
So maybe that March 25 would be a good time to go over some more things as they
Yeah.
are beginning to appear.
Yeah.
The new building possibly could be on there, the new highway building. That
Yeah.
would take up some time, a
Some warrant
presentation on that.
stuff. All right, so February 11, we've got Council of Aging, the library, fire, ambulance. February 25, just the school. March 11, Board of Health, question mark, BBT question mark. And then March 25, we're going to keep open to start talking about the warrant. That
Now,
sound right?
just remember, on any given meeting, you'll have the town administrator update. So health insurance will be a big question mark. So, things like that will be, when you have the public schools, they could take a lot of time, but you also have his update.
And then April 8 will be our last meeting before the town meeting, right?
That'll be a public hearing,
Yeah.
and when you'll be voting on the articles.
Do you have a sense, Gene, of any warrant articles so far? I mean, are we looking at, other than the normal refunding stuff that we do every year?
No, and the special, you'll have the usual suspects, you'll have the budget, any balancing we have
Right.
to do. We do have prior bills, both water and sewer and the town side. Snow and ice, you heard Adam tonight. I anticipate that they're going to be an article. So you'll have those usual, there may be, and you can answer this maybe better because I didn't go to the last capital committee, but an amendment to the capital budget on the special, just for timing purposes, so that we can put it out to bid prior to July 1st.
Yeah.
So that may be more of a timing thing. And then the annual, the departments haven't submitted. So you'll
Wait and see, huh?
wait and see on that
What's the
one.
date for the May meeting?
It is May
5.
5th, yeah. The first.
Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're all going to bring our
Tequila.
Tequila.
Yeah, your tamales, right? All right, Gene, anything for us at this point
I don't have anything.
from your office? Anybody have anything? All right, let's have a motion to adjourn then.
Motion?
Rob moves that we adjourn,
Yes.
seconded by Lynn. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. We adjourn at 8:14.
not bad.
That again?
Not bad.